duty. We're sacrificed. Now they see you as you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big collaboration event. We have literally everyone here to talk about episode 3, House of the Dragon. This is the recap and review. I'm just going to show everybody here right now. What's going on, everybody? We are all here. Nat, Jorge, Keaton, Ant, and myself. And this is our full spoiler discussion. So if you hadn't seen the episode yet, go and watch it and then come back to this. So everybody, were you guys excited for episode 3 going into it at all? Like coming off of the last episode? I was just curious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I didn't think there was gonna be a time skip, but I was looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was going to be a time skip because in the other episode they talked about, in episode 2 it ends talking about how she was expecting a child. I didn't know it was going to go from expecting a child to the child being 2 years old and she's pregnant again, but I was expecting just like a 9-month jump, not a 2+ year jump.
Yeah. Well, that happened. Ant, what about you? Going into from the last episode going to this one, what were your initial thoughts? And
I just wanted something to happen. So y'all know my thoughts. I thought the last episode was pretty boring, but I there's a lot more. I enjoyed this episode more than I enjoyed last episode. I think I'm the minority in that.
That's the look you're giving right now, Ant. The look of the king is the look that you're giving right now.
I'm tired of these politicans.
And last but not least, Nat, welcome back. What did you think about the first 2 episodes, and then going into this one, what was your thoughts?
Well, going into this episode, I was excited because I just wanted more politics, unlike Ant. But I did actually want to see an actual battle, and we did get that, but it wasn't exactly how I was picturing it. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
I mean, we got the cliff notes of the battle.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. Like, we got the cliff notes of it.
So this episode, it was about, I think, roughly 66 or 63 minutes total. Yeah. It was a lot of story they went through because, like you said, I don't know if it was Jorge had brought it up that we initially thought going into this one she was going to be pregnant or she was about to have a child. Like, no, like Aegon 1 is now born, and they're going to a festivity event and they're going to the hunt to celebrate that and other things. And Rhaenyra she's salty. It's been years now. It's been like 2 years, and and she's like, not only did you take my best friend, but now like everybody's looking at me sideways because like, yeah, you're not gonna be the heir. This man is gonna be that. And so going into the hunt, it was kind of like its own little side story. I think like 25 to 35% of this episode. No, I would say 50% of the episode was pretty much all of that.
Yeah.
And then they slid in going into everything else because the beginning of the episode kind of showed the aftermath of that small little war. It showed that Daemon was getting shot in the shoulder, like he was unsuccessful. It just didn't look like they were going to be able to do anything. It was a complete standstill. And the king was kind of like, I don't really care. I'm chilling. I got my son. Everybody should be just chill right now. And everybody's like, no, this is a real problem. Like he deal with these crab people, and he didn't care. So as far as the story arc of the hunt with Rhaenyra and with Aegon 1 now being in the fray, what are you guys thinking about that side of the story? What was your highlights of that?
That kill.
Oh, the boar?
God, yeah. I mean, she went vicious, and then I think the best part of this whole episode was her walk back after killing the boar, dried up blood all over her. Like that was a scene right there. But yeah, like yeah.
What was so good about it though? Like I agree, Jorge. What was so good about it though was when you put it next to how he made his kill with like everybody around him, and he just kind of walked up to it, and it was just it was just like nice and people were clapping like it was trash, right?
I mean, he
And
couldn't
then you have her
kill it. Like,
straight up raw.
It took him two stabbings to kill this. I don't even know what that was, like a moose, an elk, whatever that was. Took it 2 stabbings, all tied up. Like he couldn't. Like it was just weak, and yet you have this young little girl just went, Wolverine on this war. Like I don't know. Like she just. I think this episode, as much as they were kind of proclaiming it to be almost like this, like Crab King type of, big war. For me, it was more of like, this was legit her coming out party. Like, she is not this young little girl, poised to take the throne, technically right now until he names, his son. But like, she is a warrior. Like, plain and simple.
More importantly, we got a answer to a mystery that's been plaguing us since the first series. We know that Robert Baratheon didn't die because he was drunk. For 200 years, these boars have been hunting royals, and we finally.
Why did that happen?
Now we know. Now this is a blood vendetta for centuries. So I'm happy that we got that. We got that out the way.
But honestly,
so real quick, Aunt, with the elk that she saw. Was that the correct one that they were supposed to be tracking and actually killed?
The white elk.
I think they got the wrong one, right? Because it's the white elk.
Well, that was a disappointment. They were like, well, he's a big one.
Yeah.
And he's
that is
like,
not my bud.
I think the funny thing about Viserys in this series is that I think he's a good man, but I don't know if it was it Black Panther? It's hard for a good man to be king. That's literally him in spades, because it's like every single step he's kind of making is just wrong. And the politics of it all is kind of like making him look even more a worse kind of candidate to be king. The people around him, the politics, all of it, it's like he's breaking underneath the weight of all of it because he's trying to do it a certain kind of way. And I respect his character for it, but at the same exact time, I can't. It's weird. Like I can't.
Sam, you are not respecting his character. You do not care for his leadership style at all. you don't respect this.
I don't respect his
like
leadership.
Insulting somebody and being like, but much love to all.
No,
He a good guy, but I don't want him on my cup.
It's weird. Like I really do think out of all the kings that have actually been kings, he really does legit care. Like he actually cares about his family. He actually cares about doing the right thing. He actually cares about the long-term effects of stuff. But he can't effectively do it because his right hand is leading him astray. His family, he estranged them, so he's severed his family line technically. So he
spoiled his family. He's indulged Daemon. If you think about how he's acting, right? Like he's trying to keep everybody happy, and when you do that, you're not making anybody happy, right? Like that's essentially the guy that's trying to make I just cut you off. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
You're trying to make me happy now, Sam. Don't make me happy. Sam, a jerk. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's okay.
It's weird, and I said it last episode. I felt like he tried to save his brother by giving him all these alternative assignments, but what it did, it just made Daemon resentful and made him lash out because he felt like he was disconnected from his brother. And then with his daughter, even before he laid her heir, like he was always trying to protect her, but he kept her at a distance. And so, like, yeah, he definitely spoiled them, but he also chose to distance them out of some kind of need to protect them. And it's all fear. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going on a tangent, but yeah, as far as his leadership, I don't like his leadership, but I like him as a man. I do.
So I think he's developed in a lot of relationships. There's like an anxious attachment style, and there's like a real fear that you're going to do something wrong or alienate people, and it's kind of slipping away. I think that also what hurt me a lot in this scene, like he told his daughter, like, no, I want you to choose, and you could tell she wasn't comfortable just giving him the smile. But also there was no hug or no kind of like show of affection, and that just hurt me. That hurt me that there was no like father-daughter love. Like I'm just saying, you can marry who you want, and and there was no, you know what I'm saying? There was no exchange of like affection there. That really sank with me. So I think he's a good guy. We also gotta look at some of his successes though. Like he's kept peace for decades at this point. You know what I mean? Like we haven't really seen that in a lot of kings that weren't ruthless. But he's also indecisive, and you can't really be a leader if you don't just have decisive action, because then people leave room to do their own thing. The hand is doing what he wants to do, and that hand gets my nerves every time he speaks. At this point, the only guy that I think really has the interest of the kingdom and the king at heart is that one guy at the end. He was like, "Let me guess, your son," and he was like, "Nah, thanks, but actually I meant blah blah blah." And I was like, "That's the guy you make hand. That's the guy who has who's actually giving you, not trying to play you, doing like give you real talk. Like, no, this ain't about my advancement, but this is what I think you should do. And if you remember, I said you should have did this last time, but it's cool. I get it. Like, I like that guy. It's the same. I don't remember what his character is because I don't remember who's anybody's name is in this show. So,
Well, the thing that's interesting about this that does make it so different from Game of Thrones is, yeah, we want to see how things all got that way, but at the same time, this is supposed to, and I hope it stays, being all about the Targaryen family. Like, even when we look at that battle that took place, and it's like, oh, we thought that was going to be a big bad. That's not the point of the show, though. The point of the show is showing just how powerful the Targaryens are, and how the only thing that can tear them apart are themselves. And so that's what this whole thing is going to be about. Like, even when you were talking about how the lack of affection between father and daughter there, it's because he married her best friend. Like,
Right.
she was 15, right? Like, there's beef there, and they're trying to pretend that there isn't beef. And I do respect the king, because I do think he's doing the very best he can. Like, in a room full of snakes, he's trying his best to still be a dragon. Like, he is doing his very best, but they got him drinking like Robert Baratheon. Like, you can see it. Like, you can see it. He's just like, I'm over this. Like, I knew it was bad. As soon as they introduced the Lannister, I'm like, oh man.
yeah.
Right.
That's real stress. Like, but like, he's doing the best he can. And what's bad though, it's like, it does seem like he actually, even choosing his second wife, he actually still married for love, even though it was weird, and it's never not gonna be creepy. But
that little girl ran game on him, narrated by her father. Like, let's not act like it was love. He was manipulated.
it was weird. It's
Yeah.
like, but like, and the thing is, I'm kind of upset that they did the time jump, because I wanted that awkward family game night. Like, I wanted it to get to, I wanted them yelling at a Uno game. Like, I wanted messy. I wanted to see the mess. But yeah, I really like what they did, and I do kind of like that they did a looky loo with this crab dude.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to, the back half of this is gonna be its own conversation. I wanted to ask a question though. When Otto posed the question to the king,
God.
the suggestion of what to do, what was your guys' reaction? Because we weren't talking when we were watching it, so I'm curious. Just how did you feel about what is his play, and then just how disgusting or despicable that action is, regardless if it makes sense from a line standpoint, but just the suggestion of it just came out of left field. And I'm like, this man, all he cares about, like, keeping his bloodline a part of this whole thing. Yeah. And it's like, there's no tact, there's no sensibilities about it. And the king was like, yo, I thought I was supposed to be going here to chill, and y'all sitting there talking some craziness. And it always comes from you, Otto. It's always coming from you. But I mean, I don't know. What was y'all's perspective when he suggested to take his own daughter and take his own son and marry them to just not have to worry about it any further? I was curious y'all's perspective on it.
So I'm wondering now, is it the whole incest thing? Has it been orchestrated this entire time? Have they wanted to do it, or was it just forced upon them or suggested by other people at this point? Because I'm wondering.
Because the first wife, the wife that passed was his sister too, wasn't it?
Yep.
They were, or
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
form of
Yeah, that
It
was
was
his
his sister.
like his
Yeah,
biological sister.
Do y'all not
Yeah.
know this? Targaryens
Yeah.
intermarry brother and sister. That's why you had that weird thing with Daenerys and her brother. That's why she was like, Jon Snow, I don't care if you're aunt, I'm banging you anyway. That's okay. We just have family.
Yeah.
So because the whole thing, and there's a theory that they're trying to keep certain properties of their blood so they can control dragons in their blood, and that's what happens. And that's why I should remember their name, but the Black family is important because you can't. So if they can't marry them, they'll marry that family because they still have some of their lineage in them. If they can't marry them, a lot of times they'll marry a prince or a princess from Dawn. And that's another thing. They kept mentioning Dawn throughout these last 3 episodes, and I didn't get it until this episode of why they were doing it. But yeah. So yeah, they do incest all the time. This is based on a real like European family structure. That's why you get such weird features and mentalities from.
I understood that part. It was just funny that he would be the one to suggest it out of everybody. I just thought that was just someone that's outside of the family, or
but it secures his line.
Yeah, that too. So I mean, it was just funny, but it's not. It's like Keaton said, it's creepy. It's just, especially when he's 2 years old, but. And it's not like baby arrangements haven't been made like between 2 babies that have been born around the same time. Like that's been a thing too. So I don't know anymore. Otto creeps me out. He keeps on pimping people out.
Everybody. Right. Everybody. Every episode he pimping out somebody. Like
I mean, Corlin was just as bad last week pimping his daughter out. Like, that was just, no.
It's funny seeing it, though, because, like, whenever with it being a Game of Thrones prequel, every time they introduce somebody, I'm like, what's their last name? Oh, they ain't gonna last. What's their last name? Oh, they ain't gonna last. Like, it's funny, like, when you watch it, this way, because everything is about your legacy, right? And I'm like, Hightower, like, oh, I remember that name once or twice in Game of Thrones, but not for anything too significant. Like, sucks to suck, dog. It ain't gonna work.
I don't know, man. It's just really weird. But I do know now. Thanks for letting me know that, Ant, because I wasn't sure about his wife. I thought that his wife was his cousin. I didn't know it was his sister. So that's crazy. But yeah, I guess we got to talk about the knock me off Battle of the Bastards. Because I don't know what it was. When Daemon went back and they were all like gathered around together, and they were like, I think the Sea King's son was like, we need to get somebody to go in there and infiltrate this way. That's the only chance we have because we haven't been able to battle them back. They just keep retreating back into the caves. And Daemon comes back on his dragon, just chilling. Like, he acts like he don't even care. Like, he's kind of like, he's just all reserved, everything's already fine. And the king has sent like an emissary to give him a specific note to let him know, I still love you, brother, and I'm going to come here to help you out to finish this. And Daemon proceeds to beat this man to death, like killed the messenger. And then I don't know if y'all thought that he was actually gonna like just give up out of spite because of his brother. But he goes and takes the flag, sitting there, and I was like, but the crab dude kept on looking up. He was like, I don't know, I don't trust it. Crab dude kept looking and looking and looking. And sure enough, Daemon decided that he wanted to just go for everybody's throat. Now, what was you guys' take on this battle? So I have some thoughts.
So I really think that the point of this battle isn't necessarily the battle. It's going to be what happens after it, because everybody's going to see how they won as dishonorable. I think that the fact that they pretended to surrender is not going to be looked at kindly with everybody. And so, like, it's going to be kind of, you know how they treated Jaime Lannister being the Kingslayer. Like, oh, you stabbed the king in the back. Like, who does that? Like, who pretends to surrender and then burns everybody? I think that that was the whole point of this battle.
You know, it's weird. I actually disagree. The only reason why I disagree is because the tactics that the crab people been doing. Like, these ninjas been taking everybody and, you know, hammering them to stakes just for crabs to go and eat them. I think that at the end of the day, people are going to look at Daemon as like, yo, he's the truth. That's what I took it as. I took it that everybody's going to look towards Daemon to be the one that's like, you know what? Maybe we should look to him because
I feel
he's putting in work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that poor bastard thought he was getting saved. I knew he wasn't getting saved. I thought he was going to burn by fire, though. I didn't know he was going to straight just land on him. You could have landed anywhere else on that island, and you had to aim to land on that man. Like, you had to try to land on that man. I mean, it was quicker than crabs, though, so, I mean, I guess he still saved him in a way.
He put him out of his misery.
Yeah, that was funny, but I agree with Sam. That's legit what I was thinking. But also, more importantly, it also still weakens the king's position because, you trying to come in last minute and then you're going to try and take credit when we've been fighting this dude for 2 years and now you want to come in and help when we asked for help and you didn't want to give it. You want to celebrate your son and we're still fighting. No. Right. That's why Daemon beat up that messenger.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's why he beat up the messenger. He was like, I'm going to take this kill and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it as viciously as I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, how he end up in half? Like, when he dropped that body out, I'm like, what were you doing in there?
So it'd have been nice to see. It'd have been nice to see what he did in there. It
would have been nice to see.
After all that, considering how Daemon was, like, losing and he lost that tournament with the guy that's the King's Guard, it would have been nice to actually see him win a fight. Like the little soldiers, I want him to get the big cheese.
Some costume designer and character designer, it would put a lot of work in this guy's like, God damn it. Like, what? There was no point. He could have been dressed like a regular pirate. There was no point in making all that extra stuff for him and Bird and then where you get the mask from and look at this crab theme. He was like a Batman villain, only shows up once.
It does leave me excited for who else they're gonna introduce though.
Well,
why?
To be funded by the free city. So when the free cities are going to come into play here?
Yeah.
So that if anything, those are probably the repercussions of the war and them winning against the crab leader or whatever. But we'll see in the next episode.
This show is about Dragon Civil War. Anybody they bring up is gonna be small potatoes compared to the Dragon Civil War that we are leading up to. They're just the small cards of the fight. They're where you still getting your food together and everything like that. This is not the Mike Tyson round. It's all right.
I'm just saying that will lead up to. These are events leading up to the Civil War. Like, we know it is, but it's just how is it leading up to the Civil War, and this is part of it. How is it weakening King Viserys' position? How is it strengthening Daemon's position? How is it strengthening Rhaena's position? Because she killed the wild boar like nobody's business because she had some frustrations to get out. And the guys even kind of looked at her like with a little bit of respect, but I'm just like, a little too late. Y'all just being gross right now. Like, I'm not even trying to court. I'm not trying to entertain y'all. I just want to be here and left alone.
That's real.
You're rewatching the original series right now, right? The original Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I'm going back through it.
How instantly do all the main characters stick out to you?
Pretty quick. The thing about Game of Thrones that was always interesting though was when it would be a character that you didn't think was going to stick out, and suddenly it's like, oh, dang, they were there the whole time.
Do y'all care about anybody outside of about Daemon, King, and the Princess? Is there any favorites or lines or anything like that really stick out to y'all in this whole thing?
I'm trying to root for the black folk, but they haven't really been that featured.
But this is like Obama can't do no wrong, root for the black folk, right? Let's be real. I mean, I'm all for it. Check them boxes. I hope they give them something cool to do. But they haven't done anything cool that we don't even know who was on that dragon. We don't even know who was on that dragon.
Not for sure, but it would be nice to know for sure, like you said. And if they would reveal that, then be like, oh my gosh, we got Black people riding dragons. That's just great. That's just wonderful. That's just awesome.
So my point in saying that about the character sticking out though is that they came directly from the source material. This still feels like they're trying to milk a bunch of stuff out of something that could have been just one season of a good story. And I haven't.
This is material. There is material. Fire and Blood is an actual book that's out
there. No. I am saying, but going off and doing this crab thing and milking, there is a really straightforward way of this history being told, and I think they're trying to milk it to get as many seasons as they can out of this. That's what I see. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Y'all have a different feeling than I do. I just feel like there's a lot of. It doesn't matter what the villain they bring up because they're not going to be as good as the main event that we're waiting to see. But that's just me.
Well,
that's me.
I really don't think that. With this show, it's going to be interesting seeing who the main villain is. I really do think it's just going to be a big family feud because honestly, as long as we got dragons here, ain't nobody beefing with us. Like, it's one of those things. I don't want no smoke with that man and his long neck dragon. Like, I don't. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I think that's the whole point. Is that
they like to get.
Ain't nobody messing with the Targaryens except other Targaryens. Like, oh, you don't have a dragon? Well, I guess you better shut up then, right? Like, I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I will say something that I keep hearing here is everyone's talking about like how the show will go and how this leads to something else. But this episode was a letdown overall for me. It was not as. I was hyped to see a war, and I literally just got like sprinkles. Like we didn't get a war. Like the way that the preview for like the next episode was type of stuff. When you finished watching episode 2, like I was expecting a nice little war, and it's like you see Daemon doing his thing and killing 72 people versus his one only by himself. And it's just I don't know. I expected more, and it's like even with when you're killing like the crab dude, they didn't show any of it.
I did want to see that.
Like
that would have been good to see.
Dude going into the cave, and then like magically 10 seconds later, like he comes out. 3/4 of his body missing and just dragging along an arm, a shoulder, and a head.
And maybe it was the pacing. I feel like they maybe spent too long with the stag and at the party or whatever, and Rhaenyra running away. And then when they could have focused on the war and what their progression was. And plus, this was all, I think, taking place like within 2 to 3 days, even though we've been hearing about this because of the time jump. So we saw like maybe the beginnings of it, and then we realized, oh, it's 2 years later. So I don't know. Maybe with the time jumps, it's just not really.
And I think when I think tunnel warfare, I'm thinking Vietnam. I'm thinking he's going to go in there. It's going to be like traps and pitfalls or something. He got to maneuver in there. Like I thought there was going to be like, all right, when he went to the cave, I was nervous. I was like, oh yeah. Like
I was like Indiana Jones type stuff. Like you step on the wrong rock and arrow to the neck, dead.
But was he really expecting them to get that far?
I don't know. He had 3 years in a tunnel.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They haven't made it to the cave at this point, up until this point. So why would he be worried about traps when he's been winning?
Or I would say this: if I live in a network of caves for 3 years and you just wander in, you're not finding me. It's not you're gonna walk in and walk out with me real quick. It's gonna be a little thing. And there's some visual things like just going into the darkness there could have been some visual things you could have done really well there. And it was just nothing. I didn't really feel a war of attrition. I thought at least when I saw the preview last week, I didn't think this was gonna be resolved this week. Like I thought he was gonna get his name or get his like thing of like being like known as the most dangerous man in the Seven Kingdoms or something like that from this. But I thought this was gonna drag on until we felt the desperation, and I didn't get that. And to me, that's ineffective storytelling, in my opinion. Because
No,
I didn't feel it.
If you think about it, these guys have been fighting a war realistically for 2 years at a minimum, because it's been 2 years past, and you didn't feel it. Like
Yeah.
you didn't feel it. You obviously we didn't see it. Like the only time that you kind of felt the frustration is kind of like what Nat was saying, when the middleman came and then just got, destroyed. Because he was like, nah, you're not gonna come in here in the 9th inning and become like the champion of all this. Like, we've been dying out here. Like, that was the first time that it literally felt like they have been blood, sweat, and tear has been put into this. And
Well, even the other guy that was pretty much almost creating mutiny, his frustration, like the council itself was like, yeah, you can sense the frustration, and maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with this wild plan. But you didn't get a sense that it was 2 years. You felt like it was 3 days.
Yeah.
They told us instead of showing us. They told us. They expositioned to us that this was going on. They're yada yada yadaing a lot through this. They're going through some parts, and I think they're skipping some parts that are really important. Like you can yada yada some things, like the knight. I think it's Cole. The knight's Cole, when he was like, "I owe you everything to be on the King's Guard." I can understand your loyalty. I don't need to see that you came up and got sworn in and all that stuff, and that I get that, but you can't yada 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 the frustration of a war. You know what I mean? You got to do something else.
Yeah, there was 2 different talking points that we got to talk about. We got to talk about these time jumps, and if it's a make or break for you guys or not. But the reason why I wanted to talk about something else is because when I think about the scene where Daemon is going and surrendering, or even just seeing like the scene of him kind of like in desperation, I was kind of like, I immediately went and navigated to the Battle of the Bastards. But when you think about Battle of the Bastards, that was a whole episode. The whole entire time was literally a battle. And so you would think like Battle of Bastards, it lasted days. But this is a war that lasted for years.
Yeah.
And that was only 70, not even 70. I would say 35% of the episode was that battle. And I think that does a disservice to what people were building up in anticipation. Even the way that it was actually filmed and choreographed, I felt like this should have been the episode you break the bank. You hit the budget. If the budget for this was on the same par of Battle of the Bastards and allowed it to whole spread out for the 2 years, make it 2 episodes. Heck, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because we got time. You know what I'm saying? You're making all these time jumps, like every single episode is like a whole 2 to 3 year time jump. I don't know.
They're gonna go back to it? You don't think well, not just this battle, but you don't think so? 2 questions. One, you don't think that they're going to show us anything that happened as far as that battle or within that 2 year time jump? You don't think they're going to go back to that?
Not at all.
I think it's done. I hate to make a comparison, but I go back to season 8.
Okay. Second question: do you think they're done fighting?
No. There's
that's the
Civil
thing.
War
Like,
is going to be
I'm talking about even with just the fight with the free cities right now. I don't think that's done. I think this right here was a very small part of what's to come. I think we're going to see. I personally think we're going to see some pretty big battles this season later on.
Does it make you have to have a craving for what they're going to do later? Because take Battle of the Bastards. You felt claustrophobic in that battle. You felt like you held your breath in that battle. You felt the confusion. There was times when Jon Snow was cutting down people with his own with their own side because he just didn't know who was around him. He was just cutting anybody at one point, And you could have done an episode, and it also put a break. If they had went to this episode and just been all about this war, and then we come back the next episode to what's happening. Oh, there's been 3 years that went by. This is what's going on and other thing. We would have felt it better. You know what I mean? It would have been because it's not just, and maybe they didn't have the budget, but just how you film, pace, and perspective you show us can make us feel like, all right, we've been in this thing. we've been in this war for 3 years with them. Now we're gonna go back to the politics. What's been going on? How has the landscape changed for everybody else? And this felt like the first part with the pig. That could have been a show of its own. That could actually happen after this, for all we know. You know what I mean? And I mean, like they could have filmed that, done this afterwards with the king sends help, but we don't know why then we find out why he beat that guy with a helmet. You know, like we didn't, because that could have been the end. Her stabbing that boar and then bringing the boar into camp. That was a strong ending for an episode. That's all you needed to do.
Sure.
Yeah. So it seeing the battle like this, it kind of doesn't make me anticipate other battles, even though I know it has to be big, especially because it's going to be between dragons. And also, you're still trying to figure out the pacing of this war or the eventual civil war. Like, again, how many seasons are they trying to do here, and how long are they trying to? What's the pacing of this leading up to the Civil War and actually getting the Civil War? And, you know, they're doing the early talks of season 2. So are we going to get the Civil War in season 2? It's not working. Like, are you going to slow the pace down? What are you doing? The time jump's not helping.
I think one thing that no one's talking about is, so they have these time jumps, but no one looks older. They literally look the same as they did last week. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Like,
they got taller. They look a little taller.
Nah, man. I
think they look a little taller.
I think that's what's kind of.
I don't even know what age Rhaenyra is supposed to be right now.
When they said 17, I was like, she's still 17? Was she 17 last time?
I really have no idea. I didn't know how old she was in the first episode, to be honest with you. I
thought they said something about her being 15, and I guess now she's 17.
Wouldn't have known the difference.
You should be changing a lot between 15 and 17. And she looks the same. The king looks the same. I think Otto just looks a little bit more like treacherous and more like skeevy.
Yeah, he's slowly turning into Rasputin. With
the beard. I've noticed that too. Like, is that what they're going for?
Yeah. Like,
I think they should have went younger with the girls. Like, they should have aged this out. So, all right, we're gonna do the first 2 episodes with these girls at 8. And that way you could do noticeably, all right, these are the same characters at 17, and then you can go, these are the characters at 20 or 30.
When they tried marrying off the king after the wife died, and
the little girl.
Yeah.
Seeing her older. But it was weird because we saw the son young, but he aged. He definitely aged.
He's a grown man. Like, what's going on? Because they're the same age. Like, I don't.
They're supposed to be very similar in age, so I'm confused.
Oh, you're right. How is he like a man? And
he's out there in the war, bro.
And now they just throw 17 looking the same, and he, damn.
Like, was it 4 years or was it 2 years?
Was
it 2 years worth of war and then?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Are we sure D&D are back writing this stuff and producing this? Are we sure? Like, are we positive they didn't come back?
Yeah.
No.
I think right now, like the time jump and the way that they keep doing it, for me at least, it is taking away from what this show could be. Because realistically, in episode 2, they did what, a 6-month jump, and barely told us. Now in this episode, it's a 2-year jump, at least a 2-year jump. Let me put it that way, because it's, the little dude's birthday. So I don't know. I think they could have, and even with this episode, like now thinking about it, it would have meant. So I think the way you said it, Ann, makes so much sense. Like if you make the first 40 minutes just like this war, kind of going back and forth war, and then leave the hunt to the very end. And you're right. Like once she got back and had all that dried blood in her, just walking through the little village, like close it there. And literally that would have made it so much more impactful instead of like, you got a little bit of battle, not even a little bit. You got a tiny little battle. Then you have this huge jump, like, hunt story. And then, here goes Damien killing 82 people and then, killing the crab guy. Like I think it's just the way that they storyboarded this episode was very frustrating.
It's weird because I really do. I like the show. I like the show because I think it feels very vibrantly different. And I think it has a lot of potential. The problem is that there's times where either it's the time jumps or it's the way that things are paced, but it feels like things are being rushed along. And I don't know where it's being rushed along to. Like, are they trying to get to Game of Thrones? What we know, I really don't know. But I don't know if you guys feel the same way. But there are times where it feels like things are being rushed along to get somewhere. And because I'm not a book reader, I don't know where we're going. All I know is from where the Mad King is from forward. So I don't know if y'all feel the same way. I was curious y'all's perspective on that.
This is the thing. The early Game of Thrones, they weren't in a hurry to get any place. You took a walk, you might not get there until next season. But they trusted the actors, and they trusted the dialogue and the settings and the hints to get you in anticipation. A lot didn't happen in season 1. Like, beating Jamie happened off screen. Tyrion missed that other battle. But the way they communicated it all to us, and the interaction of the characters and dialogue, that kept us interested. And then we got hints. Like, there's zombies. First episode of Game of Thrones, they showed you ice zombies, and they didn't say shit about them. They didn't say nothing about them through the rest of the season, right? Like, you almost forgot. They mentioned we could get dragons. These are dragon eggs. You don't get dragons like the last scene they pop out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's a spectacle there, but you still gotta have the bare bones of like the dialogue, and some of that was here in this episode, but it just wasn't placed right in how the story goes, in my opinion.
Anybody else?
No, I mean it's. I feel like we're all in agreement here that the pacing and the time jumps are not helping the show. Again, we don't. When is the Civil War going to happen? Because I feel like they're trying to rush to that, but I'm like, maybe you should take your time, especially if you're trying to spread this out for a few seasons.
It's like trusting the process.
Yeah.
They're just not trusting it.
I was upset. I was upset by the time jump just because I wanted to see the messiness that played out after he announced who he was married. Like, I wanted to be a fly on that wall at the Nets family game night. Like, I really wanted to see.
I mean, you got a little bit of it this episode because there was still pettiness.
There was still pettiness, but it wasn't that 15-year-old "I'll see you at school tomorrow" pettiness. Like,
Yo, banged my dad. Fathers, that's the cardinal rule. Don't bang your daughter's friends. Don't bang your daughter's friends.
Like, I want to see her go on Charlemagne. It's like, so.
I felt like there should have been an immediate conversation, but we got the aftermath of it, which was, like you said, it was disappointing. It would have been nice to have that initial confrontation, and then the level of pettiness still continues in the 2-year jump.
Yes,
like,
that would have been great. It would have been great.
That episode in the tree, or that little scene in the tree was hilarious. Where she's like, "Keep playing," and the other one's like, "Stop playing." She's like, "The princess said keep playing." She was like, "The queen says you can go now." And I'm like, "Ooh." I halfway
read they gotta go. There's no out.
Right.
Like, you got to the poor man killed with pettiness. Like, I would have left too.
Just trying to live, bro.
Like, I'm just trying to play music. That's all I'm trying to do.
But you're saying everything is helping. That's interesting that we want to see is happening off screen and then fast forward it through. And so, even the stuff that isn't action, it wouldn't cost you. You just have to trust the actors to give us this petty. You slept with my dad, but I'm still your friend. You're banging my dad, and you took my birthright.
But that's a good point. So remember, Otto's daughter had a lot of nervous tics. Like, she was biting her nails. Like, she was anxiety ridden. So it's kind of like, imagine the king chooses her. What does she feel about that? Like, how did she feel about it? We don't know. Like, we know what she's doing now, but we don't know whether or not she might have been conflicted. Like, we don't know if she's like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, kind of thing. And we never really got that. So her character,
old man wedding night,
right?
Old man wedding night, I don't maybe her father could necessarily get into this. There was a whole story in this that could have got us through a couple episodes where we could have felt the emotional tension and weight of things. And I'm sorry, I just don't feel it for these characters, and it's weird because I know I'm talking a lot. I'm gonna be quiet after this. They're a lot of these actors are doing a good job individually. They're just not mixing together with the other actors to give us something, unless Damon's on the screen, and I think that's a failing. So I'm give myself a time.
No, I think you're right. They're not giving them enough time to really collide. Because somebody has said, I forgot who said it on Twitter, like if the actress that's playing the role of Rhaenyra wasn't doing it up the way she's doing it, and we weren't rallying behind her, or we weren't sold by her, what would this show really look like, realistically? And I mean, Matt is doing a decent job as Daemon, but he can't do it alone. So I don't know. It's really interesting. What they're doing with this, but I'm gonna shut up now too. I'm gonna let you guys final thoughts, final conclusions on this episode, and where are we heading next?
I just feel like we've said a lot of what we felt like about this episode, about the season, the progression of the season. We just don't know what to expect at this point. I mean, we're hopeful, and like you said, the acting is great. Like what we've been seeing, what we've been shown is, awesome. But at the same time, it's like they're not giving enough. Like, the writers are not giving them enough to really like invest ourselves with these characters, except for certain ones. And maybe that's all you need. But I don't know. For me, I guess I need to get the whole caboodle. I'm spoiled.
Yeah. What about you, Jorge? Closing thoughts, feelings?
We all do that King Lean now. We all do that King Lean. I don't even know no more.
See, no, look. Jorge is conflicted. Jorge is conflicted because the last episode he was the advocate of this show.
Yeah,
and he sat there and looked at a whole nother show. And now he hurt.
Yeah. All right. Did you already cash that HBO check? Is that why you conflicted right now?
See? There you go. I knew it.
I'm so like, it's so disappointing, and I hate saying it that way because I had so much high hopes, and I think that's on me because I had a lot of expectations. I don't know how excited I am for like episode 4 or 5 or 6 and so on, like I'm blah right now about this. I think this was, in my mind, it's a huge missed opportunity, especially with the way like episode 2 went, because I think episode 1 was a high note. Episode 2 was basically just filler and more foundation, and I wanted something from this episode, and all I got was like the after credits. Like you didn't see the battles, you didn't see like the killings, like you kind of just saw I mean, Rhaenyra's killing that boar was probably the most exciting like battle part if you think about it. Like that was the only part that I was like super suspenseful at, because they're not going to kill Daemon this early on. Like that's just not going to happen. So when that boar came out, it was like, oh crap, like this could be going. Like it's on. But yeah, no, I'm not happy. I'll go with that.
Don't worry, the rings will save you. Keaton, what's your final thoughts, bro?
See, y'all hated this going into it, man. You rings of power people. I don't want to. I'm gonna say my piece, and I'm gonna go watch Game of Thrones. Y'all go get on your little Amazon Prime, whatever. All right, so I'm actually optimistic for this show. Like, yeah, this episode didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, but I do feel like it filled in some puzzle pieces that are gonna make, I mean, you know how Game of Thrones was. Episode 9 was always lit, and everything was building up towards that. And I don't think this will be any different. I'm more optimistic just because we actually got source material, which is what ruined Game of Thrones last time, like the lack of source material and just letting them just play Harvey Dent and just flip a coin with it. But I really, yeah, I'm actually excited about it because I know I'm excited to see more of these dragons that they're introducing, and they're still introducing new characters. That was the big thing. Like once they brought in like the Lannister twins, and like they brought in the like you see the kids now, and they're growing up, and what they're doing on the battlefield. And I like that they're bringing in all of these characters, because that's one of the things that made Game of Thrones special. It's like, oh, here are these 50 people, and we don't know how we learned their names, but we know all of them and who their cousins are and who their friends are. And I think that's what they're doing right now. They're still setting up the game board. It's only, I mean, it's, in my eyes, I'm saying, oh, it's only episode 3. And so yeah, I didn't mind this episode. If anything, though, I'm waiting for some answers, and I'm hoping I get them.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Ant, final thoughts.
I mean, I just feel like I could have a V8 instead of watching this episode. I got some good sleep. Like it's all right.
Sucks.
I think there's a missed opportunity. I think in this one you got to really, if you're gonna have a civil war, you got to show when everything was sweet, and then you got to show characters you care about that are gonna get offed, right? So in a dragon civil war, there's gonna be dragons that get messed up. Show me the personality of the dragons, so I can, because right now all the dragons have the same personality as far as I can tell. So, show me something different from that. Show me some of these characters, how they intertwine, and how it's bittersweet if you win. I just don't. I haven't really locked on to any of these characters so far. Not really. But it's only episode 3, maybe episode 4 with another time skip or something like that in 5. I'll care, and we can go for it. So I wouldn't say I'm gonna discount it. There's a lot to like about this show. It's just, is it really must-see TV yet? Nah.
Wow.
Unless I get the HBO check, then I change my opinion right away, because I heard we could be bought on this show. I heard that on Twitter. Is that true?
No, it is.
Where do I sign up to sign out?
I'm just saying, yeah. If it is possible for us to be bought, I want all of y'all out there, all you execs listening. I am completely for sale.
Completely. No morals over here. No morals over here.
You want me to say I like X-Men Last Stand? I'll say it right now. Just
everything except for sequel Star Wars. I'm good. Nope. I'm a Lannister.
Nope. I got student loans to pay that.
Oh, you right. You right.
Didn't completely take care of it. You put a good dent in it.
So
Rise of Skywalker is the best film of the century.
It was, yeah. The new trilogy was not good at all.
Gotta go.
So, real quick question for Keaton, because Keaton has been the light in this. Keaton, for you, when they transition and change the actors up, because now this time jump, we're gonna have, I think, 3 different casting changes, kind of like what they would do with The Crown. Do you think that's going to change your perspective on the character?
I didn't know there was a third. I knew there was going to be at least one character change, but I didn't know there was going to be 2. I didn't know there were going to be 3 different people cast for the roles. But I think it'll be interesting to see what honestly what the more veteran actors do with the role. Like I like what they're doing right now, but I also really want to see them, like, how they choose, like, okay, I see how this person was when they were supposedly my age. I get to show how they've grown in that time. And so I guess saying veteran actors sounds offensive to the characters that are currently playing them. I don't want to say it like that, but I'm excited to see what they bring to the table.
Yeah, only reason I asked is because this picture right here, this is Rhaenyra and this is the Queen. And the funny thing is, the actress is playing the role of Rhaenyra. I'm actually really impressed by her. Like, I really like her, and I'm now thinking, like, I want to make sure that this actress here can, meet the same demand and quality.
The shoes.
Right. Because kind of like with the original Game of Thrones, like they started with everybody the same, and then they just grew into it. I think it was only one character that got switched up. I forgot the dude's name. He was part of the. I forgot. He was the aide to Daenerys. I forgot the dude's name. But
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
but outside of him, everybody stayed exactly the same. Where this season, we're gonna get a shift to the two main leads.
And the mountain changed too.
Yeah,
It changed three times.
Yeah,
true. I forgot about that.
There were three different actors that played the mountain.
Yeah, because the third one was the zombie looking one that had like a weird face.
Yeah, the world's strongest man, dude. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Man, that guy's huge. But gosh, well, I forgot what I was gonna.
I was thinking about the mountain. I lost track of time.
I do like because they are being played by multiple people though. Part of me does wonder if they end up doing it kind of like they did with the Witcher, where they jump forward a long time, and how there were like several different timelines going on at one time with the Witcher, and then at the very end you're like, oh, that's what was going on. Part of me does wonder if they're going to do it like, oh, they're going to show them 20 years from now, but from time to time they're still going to cut back and show us what was happening when they were 17 years old, like going back and forth to kind of bridge the gap.
I would like that, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think the way that they're kind of pacing this, and they're jumping so quickly, I don't see them doing flashbacks. I think whatever would happen in present or past, they would be kind of using that as a story thread to maneuver it forward. I wish it was like that. But I think that they only have 8 episodes. Is it 8 or is it 10? Does anybody know? Can anybody fact check that?
I thought it was 10.
So it's only 10 episodes, if that's the case. And
I was about to say 8 episodes? Only 8 episodes? And they wasted it? Okay.
So I don't know. We'll see.
If they split it that way, I think it would make it really interesting, especially when it came to finales, because you would have a build up when they're young and some kind of payoff, and see how that factors into whatever they're building up to when they're older and how that plays off. Like I think it would be cool if they did something like that. Like you said, I don't know if they do it, but I hope so.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back. But next time, Jorge is going to be leading the charge with Keaton and Ant, and they're going to be spearheading the rest of this season. And if you want to see me and Nat, we're going to be doing another show, and that is going to be very interesting to talk about as well. We're not going to name that other show here.
The show they want to talk about. Before they invaded us, they want to talk about another show. They don't care about this show, people. It's all a trick bag. I just want to sell out. Where can I sell out? I got student loans.
Bezos bought them.
I just want to sell my soul, please.
We gotta go, y'all.
Falling off the top of